Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, it's Al again. And for today, I'd like to walk you through on the new version of AyahLab, which is 1.1.0. But before we dive in, I'd just like to first and foremost thank you for supporting the software. I'll be honest with you, I did not expect the overwhelming support that I got. Initially, this channel only had 5 subscribers, but after releasing AyahLab and that announcement video, we are now already at 1,000 subscribers. So I'm very thankful to all of you. So for those who have not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. That will help the channel and also help spread awareness on the application itself. The other piece is that I also like to uh, inform you that I did receive all of your emails, and I apologize if I was not able to reply to some of you, but I did receive some messages as well from LinkedIn and also all of the comments in the comment sections. And one more thing, I would also like to acknowledge the donation that I received. Alhamdulillah, may Allah bless you with more barakah in this dunya and also in akhirah. Okay, so for today, I'm going to walk you through on the app itself and also give you some updates. I did receive some questions as well regarding the software as to how I developed it, and I just like to also address this as well. So without further ado, let's start looking at the app itself. So for today, this is the content, and for this one, so first, I'd like to highlight. So these are the discussions that we're going to have. So first, this is the old version, and this is the new version, and I know it's kind of stretched because I'm using my external monitor here just to see it side by side. And then for our discussion today, first and foremost, I'd like to highlight that I've created a discourse group so that all of you can visit. So if we actually go here and we go to that site, okay, where is it? Okay, this one. Okay, so if I go to this website, okay, so this is the AyahLab discourse page. So I just thought that just to build a community of users, maybe you can try to join here, and then I'll try my best to answer, but maybe some of you can also help answer some of the questions, right, for those new users if ever. Okay, so I have the link here, so you can just type this and go into that website. And then after that, we're going to discuss what's new in this version, and then the tech stack of this software. I'm going to share it with you. And then how did I learn to code? Some of you were curious about that. And then what's the future plans and also other Quran projects that was shared to me via email. And I just want to also share it with you, and you may be able to support them as well. Okay. The first and foremost for new updates, I've did a lot of enhancement on the design just to make it very consistent. So everything is now rounded, of course, just to make consistent design across. So, and also, as you can see, for example, most of the dialogue window are now draggable, and at the same time you cannot just close it, even if before in version 1.0, for example, for color picker, if I click this, it's a modal, so if I click it outside, it goes away. So the problem is that if you want to have this colored into red, for example, you have to click that and then click red, apply, okay, and then this one you want to clean this into green, you have to click it again and then green and close. Unlike here, the color picker, as you can see here, so I can just click here, and then, so for example, new, it will not go away. You can get red, for example, and then here I can just click green, for example. So at least it's also draggable, and as you can see here, I've also enhanced the design itself, so now it's way more better, I would say. Okay, and this is true for other dialogues as well. So as you can see, float consistent branding across, floating dialogue. So let me just cross this out because we are done with that. And then here, floating dialogue can be closed via the close button to avoid. Yeah, so I'm just going to, okay, so you can only close it if you click this. So for example, for insert image, now as you can see here, I can drag it also, and as you can see, it's an updated design. Whereas here, if I click that, as you can see, it's a modal, and if I click out, it goes away. So if you have, like, for example, repetitive tasks of like uploading or loading some messages here, you have to keep on clicking this one again, and then after that, after adding that image and again. Whereas here, I can just browse, for example, and then add the image, for example, and then insert the image, for example, and then it does not go away, and then I can just browse again, and so on and so forth, right? So let me just delete that. Let me just undo that, and then I can only close this if I click the close button, right? But again, the design is now also updated, following that modern rounded theme. Okay, and then yeah, so color picker, you've seen this already. So this is true for tables. So for example, if I want to insert a table here, so and then insert a table here, as you can see here, I've also enhanced this button, so now you can see it. I have also enhanced this part. Before it was red. So here, for example, if I insert a table, so it's a modal, and then if I click outside, it goes away. So if I have to insert several tables, I have to click that OK, and then after, I have to go here again and click it again and click it again. So now I have, two tables, for example, with another table. But here, as you can see, I can just click it here again, and then after that, enter, click here again. So as you can see, at least it functions like a tool indeed. Right, so I can just close this if I want to, and then as you can see here, I have the updated design here as well, and also you can see the chevron logo, which is here. You cannot see it, for example, yeah. And then of course here, the color picker, if I click this, for example, so the color picker is here, so I can change the color of that cell and so on and so forth. Whereas here, if I click this, and then go here, and then goes away, and then you have to click it again here for this one, and so on and so forth, right? Whereas here, I can just go there, and then okay, I think that there's a bug here. So maybe this is another thing that I can do in the future, where is, instead of going here and then clicking here and then clicking here again, and then after that, maybe I can just go anywhere and then just press something, like, for example, yeah. For now, it's not working, but at least, we are progressing already. Anyway, so that's it. And then, so I've designed that. Let me just close this. So this is good already. Word morphology pop-up is now draggable, so, which is true. So here, for example, right, before, as you can see here, it's all very slow. For example, as you can see, the hover, if I hover, it's kind of slow, because there's actually a transition that I did not remove. Whereas here, for example, as you can see, it's very fast, right? So if I can make it bigger, so make it bigger, for example, large, yeah, just so for you to see, extra large, yeah. Here, let me just make it bigger as well, so just so for you to see that we are comparing the two. Large. Okay, so here, if I transition, if I hover my mouse, you can see it's a bit slow, right? Whereas here, if I hover, as you can see, it's actually faster, much faster, yeah. Whereas here, for example, as you can see, even if I drag one mouse, because of there was a transition that I did not removed. Now the other new thing here, so if I can just delete this, right? Okay. If I just delete that, so if I click here, for example, so I have that, okay, but if I click outside, it goes away, right? And I cannot drag it, for example. So for example, if I have it here, or if for very long, I mean, at times, for example, it gets cut off, for example, and you cannot move it, for example. Whereas here, if I go to Baqarah, for example, and I click here, so you can see it got cut off, but now I can also drag it, right? So I can drag. As you can see here, also it has now a new style. This is a special dialogue. We have a lot of dialogue here, of course, but for this one, this is special because this is already in the Musaf, and then you just want to treat it as special. So there's a glass effect in here, but the good thing is that you can drag it, and you can also drag it here in the corner. So even if it's actually way off, you can still get it and then drag it here, for example. And the good thing here, you have now a new button. If I click this, it will pin and it will tell me which word this was. So it's actually this one. So now it's here. So now it's pinned already. As you can see, the pin is now, it's not visible anymore. So I can just have it here, and then even if I click outside, it will not go away, right? For example, here, if I click here and I can drag it, but if I click outside, I'm not going to pin it, for example, it will go away, right? So if I want to pin it, for example, for this one, I want to compare them, and then so I just have to click pin, and then now I have the two thing. As you can see, there is a glass effect, and if I'm not mistaken, this is not default, so you have to go here to the settings, and here, if I click the appearance and disable the glass effect, as you can see, there's no glass effect. If I enable that, yeah, just in case it consumes compute, or I'm not sure your computer, but for those who have lower specs, this might be heavy for the computer. But if you have good spec, you can have this glass effect, and as you can see, it's transparent. And also, if you look at this in the dark mode, as you can see, it's also transparent, right? So that's the new thing here. So you can pin that. So I can just close here this, right? So let me just go back to the light mode, and then okay, so let me then close, strike this. Editor tabs can now be repositioned. So yeah, so here, for example, if I'm going to open a new file, yeah, the document here, the perfume file, or the Julia file here, for example, right? And then here, I'm going to open also here that same file, Julia. Yeah. So for this one, I cannot move this. If you are using, say, some IDE, like for example VS Code, or Z, for example, you can actually move those. But here, as you can see, I cannot move those. I cannot rearrange those. But here, I can rearrange them. As you can see here. So if I move it here, for example, see, it's already here, and then I have here the other tab, for example. If I have two, for example, so if I'm going to create a new Julia here, and then I'm going to hide this Sura page. So now I can have a split mode. So if I click this, yeah, they are in split mode, and I can reposition them together. So as you can see, they go together because they are considered one unit. And so as you can see, so if I move it, there you go. So now let's open this again, right? Okay, and then I can just remove also unlink them if ever I want to. So okay, that's it. So it can be repositioned. Type is preview is now yeah, resizable. So if I go here, before I cannot do this. Yeah, now I can do it. Here, for example, if I open the same file, let me just open it here. I cannot do it, right? There's no resizing, right? But here you can resize it, right? So that there's an option for that already. And then yeah, the other piece is there's also a bug for the Julia REPL here. So for this one, so here if I actually resize this, and see, did you notice that this goes beyond the limit in the bottom, as you can see, yeah. But here should be fine already. It will not go do that. See, I cannot do that. Right? Whereas here, there's a bug. There you go. Yeah, it overflows. Okay. Next, what else? Let's see. Parchment for big surahs is now slightly faster when hovering between big surahs. So what do I mean by that? So here, for example, it might not be prevalent, um, but it's actually much faster as you go over big surahs, for example. But if you have a strong, a high spec computer, I'm using M3 here, M3 Pro, so maybe that's why. But technically behind the scene, the way how I configured it, it's actually much faster. Faster hovering over words, yeah, we've seen that already. So I'm going to strike it to. Of course, I'm not going to go to each of these, by the way, and on this part. These are just others. I'm not going to do that. This one, we've done that already, so I'm going to do a strike through, right? So yeah, so the rest here are just other designs that was also updated. The other piece that I'd like to highlight is this plus and minus buttons, so which is this one, this one. Before, for Windows, this is a little bit off, but this time around it's better. So here, you can actually notice it here also in Mac, that a little bit off. For example, now it's actually an SVG already. So because this one is like text character, so that's why sometimes there's a difference between Windows and Mac. So there you go. Now next, what about for enhanced functionality? So here we have, okay, so for this one, if before, if I write something like no, this is actually the API, right? If I want to open Surah Baqarah, so I'm going to say Baqarah, no, let's just 110. I'm not sure what is 110, but I think Ikhlas is 112. Yeah, 112, and then Falak, and then Nas. Okay. And if I run this, should see the um, two surahs, right? I think this is not a good example, but maybe let's go for a big surahs. Surah Bahara, and then the next surah. So we have two big surahs here, and then I can just say, just want to see. So let me, maybe you might have a hard time seeing the text, but let me make it bigger. So here, so for example, I want to do something like this. I want Surah 2 and Surah 3, and then I have here, I want to get the ayah, say for example 4 and 5, 4 and then 10, for example. So if I run this, highlight this, and then command enter for Mac, or for Windows control enter, yeah. And then here, as you can see here, so I can see now for Surah 2, for Baqarah, I have here the fourth ayah, and then the 10th ayah, right? And then for Surah Al-Imran, same, fourth ayah, and then 10th ayah. But the problem is the Quran has its own arrangement, of course, and when you are doing data processing, or listing the ayahs of selected ayahs only, maybe we may be able to display that, for example, in console, for example, right? But displaying it in here, where it has that design of like the one that we have in our Musaf, for example, it's not good that we are going to display it like this one, where we have here Baqarah, and then we have here the Basmala, and then after that, this is the only two ayahs that we see, which is not good, because someone might take a screenshot and then will say that, is this Baqarah? Why is it that we only see this, for example? So, which is not ideal, um, because in Islamically, in principle, Quran has a fixed what is this, arrangement of the verses already, and we just want to show respect on that one. So for this one, on the new version, and let me show you what do I mean by it. If I run this, so you can see, look at the difference here. I have already see verse 4 here, I can see that, okay, I can see the verse 4, but it gives me an indication that for Surah Baqarah, there are more surahs before, there are more ayahs before the surah, before the ayah 4, of course. So I have it here as dot dot dot, and then after that dot 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 ninth, meaning to say there are still hidden ayahs here, and then after that we have the ayah number 10, right? Whereas here we don't have that impression. The ayah 3 is now adjacent to ayah 10, which is not good, at least when you want to present it like uh, uh, like in this display, for example. So that's why I just want to have that as well, that just to give the impression that there are more ayahs in between, and also after the ayah 10, that's not the last ayah of Baqarah, so you also have that something like this, right? Okay, so same for Surah Al Imran. As you can see here, I have that, and then it's like a little bit, uh, the color is not that prevalent, so that just to indicate that these are ayahs that are not shown, and also here and so on, so right. So yeah, so yeah, that's one thing. That's the one of the enhanced functionality. Actually, it's not tafsir, of course. This is like the Quran reader. Yeah. So manuscript viewer is now resizable. Yeah. So if I click here, and let's see if I click this, so as you can see, this manuscript viewer. If I click here, right? So if I click here, the manuscript viewer, here, as you can see here, there's like a new, like an indicator, so that if you hover your mouse here, you can see that I can resize it, right? I can resize it, I can move it, for example, whereas here I cannot do anything, right? The other thing is that you can now, instead of like downloading the image and then after that uploading it here, again inserting the image, I can now directly click insert image, and it will actually get inserted. So if I enter here and then press insert image, it will download that image, and then it will actually insert the image into this part, right? So take some time, depends on the internet, and also it depends on the server, from Corpus Coranicum. But let's wait. Okay, it takes a little bit longer, hoping it will insert. And anyways, I've tested this already before, so it should be working. But even this part is still not done. So there's, as you can see, it has now inserted the image, right? So I don't have to download it and then put it here again, for example. The other thing is, so for this one, I have to click download full, and then it will download, and then after that, once done downloading, I can then go here and then insert image, for example, right? So that's how I'm going to do. For whereas here, I can just click the insert exca, and then I have it. The other piece, if I click here, as you can see, there's a button already. I can crop this. So if, say, for example, I want to focus only on the first 3 rows, for example, and then I click apply, crop, there you go. So now I have cropped the image, right? Okay, alhamdulillah. So it's resizable. Yeah, for this one, you can now drag this, just in case, the intention here, you just want to, if you want to study and you want to just make sure that you have to review your highlight and you just want to see it there, for example, so you can do that. So you can see it doesn't go away even if I click outside, whereas here this being treated like a modal. So if I click somewhere, it goes away. If I click here and then click somewhere, it goes away, right? Whereas here, it's not going away, not unless I'm going to click the X button here, and this one as well. Okay, so now the other piece is, I know you had a problem, like, with the feedback card, so which is here. So before here, you cannot do this. So if I say there is a bug, hello, fix this. Then send feedback. As you can see, there's a network problem for us here. There is a bug. Hello, fix this. Send feedback. There you go. Now it was sent already to the email I use for receiving this feedback. Okay. Yeah, there you go. What else? Okay, so we have that. Manuscript viewer, yeah, I've shown you already that you can insert it already. The other piece is you now have more languages for tafsir. So for tafsir before we only have few, but now we have substantial already. We have three for Russian, for example. We have Indonesian, we have Hindi, and so on and so forth. Right. So if we can just show you the Indonesian, for example. Yeah. So this is the tafsir for Indonesia, right? There you go. And then two new language translation, that would be for German and for, I forgot the other one, French. Yeah. Okay. And then so now I think we are more or less, so image cropping is already okay. The other piece is this new version will automatically check for a new version of AyahLab, right? Even if you don't have to go here actually to check for the updates, for example. And by the way, here there's also a bug for that one. So even if I check this, okay, it has now detected. Yeah, you can actually do that. So it's actually working. So you can now click this, and then it will transfer you to the, or at least it will open your browser to go to the AyahLab website. Now the other piece is so for this one you don't have to click this. There will be a pop-up already here if there's actually a new version. The other thing is, as you can see here, okay, why is it a little bit off here? Yeah, maybe in the new version I can fix that, but that should be the verse number. So this should be the verse number. For some reason, no, the surah number, but for some reason it is a bit off. So I'll just fix this, inshallah, before uploading the new version to the website. Yeah, but yeah. So this one is the surah number. So if I go actually to any other surah, for example, so at least you have that indicator. What else? So let's see. So yeah, as I mentioned, it has now. Next, for typepiece, you will see that we have a new package.
It's 2 o'clock.
Okay, that was, yeah, from my laptop. Okay, so now we have a new library for typepiece I've added here. This is for PowerPoint, and this one is for like a book package. So if you want to write some sort of like an article or a book, you can use this. And this one you can also use. As you can see here, I can also click them. So if I click this, it will bring me to the ilm. So it's one of our brother, Muhammad Talal Anwar, also developed this, right? So I can create an ilm notebook or document. I can just copy this, for example, and say, for example, let's create a new typist. So this is already available in the new version. Not sure what's going on here. So let's see. Okay, so this one, I don't have this file, so I just have to remove that. What else? Not file, not found, application. Epistomol. I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's see. Okay, so there's a problem for that one. So maybe I have to fix that as well. Okay, let's see what's going on there. But for this one, for example, we only have one, and you cannot click this. This time around, I have the link already for it. But for diet typepiece, this is for like PowerPoint presentation for typepiece. So if I click that, so and then I can go to the documentation. So it looks like that. And then if I go to documentation, quick start guide, I can just copy this and then paste it here. There you go. So now I have a PowerPoint. And take this for example. So yeah, I can say I can add my name here. Saad. There you go. Yeah. History of the Quran, for example. There you go. Yeah. So this is like a PowerPoint, and you can follow the instruction here as to how to create a new slide and so on and so forth. Okay. What else? Let's see. Yeah, I think we are good already. That was the last part. Yeah, I know there are still many other items that I have to fix here, but inshallah, if I'm not able to fix that in this version, then maybe inshallah in the next version. Now, before I proceed to talking about, so we are done with this one already. What about the text now? But before I go there, I just want to go straight to the other Quran projects that you may want to check. So this is Quran Circles. So if I go to that website, this is the website. By the way, if you are curious about my browser, I'm using Zen. It's Zen, Zen. Yeah, there's Zen. Okay, and this one you can also check this project. It's Quran Circles, and you can actually download. Where's that? Some of the examples here for it's like a Quran project, but by one of our brother, and yeah, I mean you can check here, and it's actually studying about the circular pattern, if I'm not mistaken. For example, we have here Raymond Faring. Raymond Faring is someone who proposed concentrism of the Quranic verses. I've also studied this part in my thesis, but yeah, you can also check this website. The other is project is by Dr. Hussein. Um, by they shared this to me, of course. That's other project. So you may want to check this as well, right? And they have some Quran metadata as well. Another by Brother Shariar Kazi. So if I open the website, yeah, so it's stick to Quran, so you can also look into this, right? So Alhamdulillah. Now let's talk about. So we are done with this. We are done with this. Okay, so some of you are interested on what is the tech stack of AyahLab, right? So the tech stack for AyahLab is I use Tauri. It's a Rust library. So this is actually built using Rust library. And it's called Tauri.app. So this is the main technology that I use. Yeah, some of you have figured out that I might be using some sort of like a web technology that's bundled into a desktop application. And the popular technology for that or tech stack is actually Electron. I did look into that, but I was really interested in Rust, and so one of the reasons why I've created this app is just for me to learn actually Rust. So I use Tauri. I decided to pursue Tauri instead of other desktop library of Rust simply because I know uh, I'm good. I'm. It's not like I'm good or I'm an expert, but I've created some websites. I know that web technology already, and I just feel like there are a lot of libraries for web technologies as opposed to the desktop libraries of Rust, which are still young. So I just want to use web technology because we have so many libraries that we can use. For example, we can use Tailwind for styling and so on. So on. But for this case, I'm using Tauri. Now Tauri is like Electron, but unlike Electron, Electron bundles the application with a dedicated Chromium for that bundle of your app. And so every time you have an app, you are shipping like a Google Chrome with it, for example, just to render that UI. And so it's eating a lot of space, right? Even if you're just creating a hello world, you have to have that Chromium engine behind it, and so that's why you end up with a very big size of the application. So that's why for AyahLab it's actually quite small, because it's not shipping with Chromium, rather it's simply using the OS native WebKit, if I'm not mistaken. And so basically it uses that technology only, and Rust simply bundles all of the necessary, you know, functionalities of the applications, right? However, as for the UI, this one is being rendered by the OS itself. Now there are, because of the fact that we are using for the front end a web technology, there are many ways, there are many options that you can use, right? And for this one, you can either develop it using um, using what is this? Using React, for example, or using any other popular. I mean, using popular. Let me see if I can see the list of that one. All right, I cannot see it here. But basically, you can use React, Vue, for example, Svelte, and those web framework for the UI. For my case, I prefer Svelte. That's the web framework that I prefer. So when I chose, I really like Svelte, so that's why I pursued that. So for this one, I'm using Svelte. And for those who want to, see some examples of some GitHub. Just go to GitHub, right? And awesome Tauri. So you can see a lot of examples here, and you can see the source code. Some are closed source, but we have a lot of application here. So just go to awesome Tauri. This is the link to the website, right? But just to briefly show you the source code itself, right? So here, this is the source code for AyahLab. As you can see, I have a lot of warnings here. But it initially I named it for Khan Desk, but then I decided to change it into AyahLab. But as you can see here, this is the source code, and the way it works is that the front end is in the source folder. Let me make it bigger so you can see. Okay, I'm not sure to use. I'm using Z, by the way. It's also an alternative to VS Code, but this was developed using Rust as well. So for front end, you have here the source code for the front end. So I'm using Svelte. So for those who are familiar, this is how it looks like, for example. So this is the layout. It's Svelte kit, by the way. So you can compare this to like Next.js, a meta framework. But yeah, I'm using a Svelte 5 here. So I have here the layout and the page, for example, for the UI. And then for the components in my view, for example, here, like for example, for this one, yeah, I have it here as a parchment. Yeah, parchment. So you have here morphology view. I also have like the bookmark dialog, the highlight dialog. So this is the bookmark dialog, the highlight dialog, right? And then all of the functionalities here. So for this one, for this data, that's actually being loaded from Rust. So I have it encoded as a table in Rust SQLite or SQLite. So I use SQLite to have the data of the Quran be saved in a database SQLite of Rust using the Rust library for that one. And so every time I load this, it's actually calling the table from Rust, and then it loads this for me. So if every time I click next here, for example, it loads that part. So that's how it looks. Now the endpoint, right? The way you do that, for example, for next prev, so the next prev button here, this is actually the next prev button. So if we go into the source code of that, let me just make it bigger. Right? So for the button here, for example, next, and so go. So for example, for this one, next surah, this is the function that I have. So if we go there, surah index, let me see. So it's actually a store. Uh, yeah, it's a store, and then this one simply reacts into any changes in the surah index. So it's a store. I'm not sure what I think React hook, if I'm not mistaken, for React, but for Svelte, we have this store concept, and then I have here in my morphology view just effect function that's actually that reacts into any changes, for example, in the menu, for example, right? So let me see if I can find it. There's a lot of code here. But basically, for that one, the way it works is that, let me just open, for example, Surah widget. Surah widget. So for this one, I have the buttons, and let me see, just to show you some examples, right? Did I put it on load? Let me just show you. Maybe let's search it. Invoke, yeah. So for Julia editor, for example, let me show a small example here for manuscript viewer. Much easier to find if you just search the name. So for get manuscript list, for example, as to you take the ayah and the input. This one, for us to extract the data for this one, for I don't know, not that one. Let me just open a new one. Where is it? Maybe we can just use that. Where is it? So okay, for demo mode, not demo mode. All of these invokes, for example, save manuscript to downloads. This is already calling the RAS functions. So in theory, you have this invoke uh, API, and that one and that one is an endpoint in the Rust backend. So for example, for this one, we have here anything that has invoke, you are actually calling the backend already. Basically, it's not a backend per se. You only have this one app, but let's just say the backend of it is actually powered by Rust, whereas the front end is powered by Svelte. And the way they communicate is that you need to use some the Tauri special API, which is invoke. And then for this one, these are just actually like the endpoint that is going to receive, for example. So if I search that, so that we can go to the commands. So this is the endpoint that's going to receive. So if this function, for example, will call, if I call this insert to lexical, for example, function, it will call one of the functions in the backend, which is get manuscript, which is a Tauri command. And the way you specify that this is an API, you just have to add this macro command. I don't know, this is like I forgot what they call this in Rust. But it's like a decorator, and then so you have that, and then here after that, so by simply calling this, this is how you call it in the front end, and then once you call this, you pass the data with it. So this is the data that you have to pass, and then that data will be managed by this one, right? So we have the image URL and thumbnail. As you can see here in Rust, it will actually also automatically like translate it if into an underscore, because that's the convention instead of like a camel case in JavaScript. But anyways, this is how it works. So I have here the front end in in Svelte. And then for my backend, all of the requests coming from the front end will go into the commands.rs. This is the endpoint in the back end or in Rust side, and then basically in the front end you just have to call all of these API names, for example, right? And then you can also just package them into um, other functions as well, just to organize, for example. Now, as for the database, the Rust SQLite, as I mentioned before, so I have here uh, I'm not sure what do they call this in Rust, but this is like a single tone database, if not, or yeah, you just specify a struct, and then you then implement a method for it. So for this one, this is a common method, the new method, where you initialize the tables for that database, for example. And so here I have the Quran DB, the Morphology DB, the user data tables. I'm not sure for this one if I still need it. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. This is for bookmark and highlight. So here, for example, I'm creating a table for bookmark, for highlight. So I save that in a database in a as SQLite in the backend. And yeah, basically that's how I call it. I've used this also in my other application, and so far it's actually working well. So how do I run this, right? So every time I click next here, as mentioned earlier, it will actually just call the APIs in the command.rs, and it will also call this part, right? So to run that, okay, so there you go. Sorry guys if it's actually midnight already, early morning in the Philippines here. I'm recording early morning, so that's why I feel sleepy. npm run tower dev. So if I just want to run it as a dev, I can just run this as dev, and then it should be running. There you go, and it should load. There you go. Let's see the backend. Okay, yeah. That's the server running it. There you go, and loading. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so if I click next, I'm not showing if it is actually printing. Okay, I don't have a print in the backend, but basically this is already calling the method for this database, and depends on which table that I have saved it, but this one will have its own tables. But for bookmark table, for example, this is the table that's being recorded, and then basically every time you click this, it will simply load this or call that from this table in the backend, right? So that's how it works for this one. Um, what else? Okay, so maybe yeah, for Julia, this is it. Yeah. Now the reason why I use Typist also, because Typist is a Rust library, and so it can easily be added into this into Julia now. Okay. The other thing is, am I using like an agent for coding? Yes, I'm using Claude Code. Um, when I started this one, Claude was bad at coding. Before it only knows Svelte 4, for example, and when I transitioned to Svelte 5, we have here runes. For example, it's not actually good at that. But recently it was getting really good. Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why was able to create all of this, because of those agents or AI agent. Although the thing is, my perception is that it's, I don't like to use them before, because it takes the excitement of like coding, for example. But the way I do it right now is that before I use them for checking my bugs, and trying to ask questions on how to solve this and so on and so forth. But now I can just give them instructions, but piece by piece. Okay, I don't give them a lot of instructions, because sometimes they won't be able to follow what you're trying to say, not unless if you write a whole paragraph of prompt, for example. But the way I do it, if I'm rushing, for example, I just give them, in this line you have to check this, and so on and so forth, right? So instead, of course, you can just I can just call Claude, for example, Yeah, and now I have Claude already, and then I can just give it some instructions. But the way you have to do this, I always go with a plan mode. At least that was the advice. And then for this one, I just have to specify. I just have to be very specific. For example, I need to you to see this line, put this here, and so on and so forth, right? Yeah, but at time it's not perfect. So there are times it's not working. So that's the time where I really have to refine everything and so on and so forth, right? Okay. One last thing for styling, and I think this is obvious already. I'm using Tailwind for styling. I think the video now we are recording is getting longer already, so let me just stop there. But let me just show you that, yeah, as you can see here, I'm using Tailwind. Yeah, much easier as well. Okay, we're done with this one. So how did I learn to code? Um, okay, so let me just open my website. So I'm a statistician. I'm not a computer scientist, but I love to code. I learned coding back when I was in college. So I go to my website, resume. So in college here, I had my first computer science degree. No. Computer science subject. It was CS 101. It was a Java programming language. And the first time I learned about Java programming, I fell in love with coding. So I decided to just learn and learn. And I also created my first desktop application in my third year in college. And then after that, as a statistician, the main programming language that we use is R. In fact, it's not actually a programming language. I feel like it's a scripting language, but R, that's the one that I use heavily in statistics. And then after that, before graduating, I also self-studied Python. And then after that, in my master's degree in statistics, I stumbled upon Julia. It was recommended to me by one of my French instructor in one of my seminar, and then I decided to use it in my thesis so that I will be forced to learn it. Right? I mean, that's how I want to. If ever I need to learn something, I have to force. And then after that, I started working as well in as a data scientist somewhere here in the startup company, and that's when I learned about JavaScript and then TypeScript. And so I really want to learn more about web. So that's when I learned those skills during that time. And then after that, decided to be good at web. So I chose Svelte. And then finally, in 2024, I decided to just stop writing papers because you will see here, my paper ended up at 2023. After that, I did not publish anything because I just want to learn one more programming language and I just want to be good at writing application as well. So I decided to pick up Rust, and for me to force myself to write Rust, I decided to create AyahLab. But there's other application as well. But yeah, there you go. So now what is the plan for this one, right? Because this is a free programming language. Now, some of you have asked me like, do I plan to open source it? The thing is, some of the libraries, right? The libraries for studying Quran, we already have Quran 3, the JL. So if I can install that here, I can run that. I have a library called so I can install that library, add Quran 3. Yeah, this is the library that I've created as well. And for this one, it's open source, right? It's open source. So now I think it's already installed. So if I say using Quran 3, I run that. And then now if I say this one, Quran data, load Quran data. Okay, there you go. So this is the Quran data, which is also the data that I use here for loading that. So I have that already, and then I say corpus, and then so Tanzil. I have two data by the way here. So if I'm not mistaken, I forgot the, yeah, I think let me just check the type of Quran data. So I'm actually, what I'm writing here is actually a, yeah, okay, so we have here two, so I can just say Quran data 1, and then the other one is table Quran data 2. We will see that afterwards. There you go. Okay, so I have the 2 already. So if I say corpus here, this is actually the so maybe I can hide this. Let me hide this just to show you. Yeah, it's not showing properly, but you say, for example, for if I want to show the morphological feature of Surah Al-Fatiha, so I have it here. So it's in chapter 1, the opening, so on and so forth. For Tanzil, because this is the morphology actually that you see here. This is the one that you see in the morphological view earlier. For this one, I can also show you this. So as you can see, I have here Surah Al-Fatiha. So I can access the first chapter and then the second. First chapter, first verse. This would be the Basmala, for example. Yeah, chapter 1. So this is a library that I've created. It's Quran tree, and it's already open source, right? So for corpus, for example, for the first ayah, so here Basmala, and then here the Bach-Walter encoding of it, which is, this is the encoding of it. And so B here is a preposition earlier, and then ism here, or is sin mim kasra, that will be a stem of this token, and it's a noun. If I'm not mistaken, and I think it's a noun. And then Bismillahi, and then here is a pronoun, it's the name of God. And as you can see, the other details as well. But as you can see here, I can access Tanzil, the Arabic text as well. So if I 12, for example, class, for example, so I can hide that. So this is already open source, right? This is Quran tree. So if I go here to the website earlier, you can actually find it here. Yeah, even in my website, you can actually find it here. So this is open source. This is for interfacing with the Quran corpus, which is the one I did here. And then for Unir, this is for Arabic natural language processing, right? And then for Kitab, for other Islamic texts outside the Quran, so for example, the Hadith, and so on and so forth, right? You can also use the Kitab.jm. Now, all of these are open source, right? And what I did here, if you really want to help and contribute, I suggest, you can actually look into all of these libraries, and there are still items that haven't finished for these libraries, and yeah, you can contribute on that part. I do plan for AyahLab to open source this someday, but for now I just want to have it close, simply because I'm just contemplating as well as to how can I make this sustainable. Number one, I might add a pro version for this one. The pro version would be just any cloud functionality. So for that one, I cannot make it free because I will be using the server already. So for example, collaboration. If you want to collaborate with your friends and you want to code together, for example, or study the Quran together, and you have to edit something on your notes, for example, and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's one thing. The other piece is I'm planning to also add some AI capability here, for example, and that will also be a cloud functionality. So that will be for the pro version. Of that will be that will because it's a pro version, and because a server, that will be there will be a payment or difference. So it's not free, that part, of course, because I cannot finance it already. But the rest, the desktop app, I will still be free, and I still have a lot of items that I'd like to add here. But for now, it's not my priority. I'm just actually financing this personally, but I'm also very thankful to those who donated. So it really helps a lot in terms of the development, right? um, Alhamdulillah. The other future plans for this one is that I will go back to teaching about Julia and in using for Quranic Arabic uh, studies. Um, but I may also use it, say, for example, for other items in Islamic studies, like for example, studying Hadith. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's it. So if you really want to help me, you can just share these videos to all of your friends and have this what is this let them install it. It's actually totally free. And for those who you know also want to be able to contribute technically, the libraries that I mentioned earlier, this one, Kitab, Unir, yeah, you can open this. uh, So in fact, for this one, I'm actually doing something. I'm refactoring this. So you can see, if you also want to contribute, 48% is only has only a unit test. So some of the lines of the codes have not been unit tested. So you can also look into that and check. And I have the documentation here for the for this library. So you can follow, for example. Yeah. And the other thing, of course, yeah, I'm just helping the ummah basically. So I'm very thankful for those who are supporting me. And I guess I'm not going to. I mean, I guess I'm going to stop here. So, alhamdulillah. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Share this with your friends, and pray for me. Pray for my family. Pray for pray for all the Muslims. um, and just hoping inshallah we have a peaceful, um, you know no one will suffer anymore. And yeah, I guess that's it. So um, you can now download the application. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum.